Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. So today we will be doing the Sons of Appalachia story so far. Pretty much what I want to do in this video is give y'all a quick recap of the episodes, and then we're going to go straight into some theories that I have on, either who put the sign on Buck's truck or who the figure was at the end of episode 1. I have some pretty interesting ideas. I'm doing loads of research to make sure my theories are right, and if I do everything correct here, this will be the quickest turnaround time for a video I have ever done. So I got to make sure that the quality isn't bad while also preserving, the high quality of the previous videos of editing. And yeah, if you guys really enjoy this video, please feel free to leave a like, a comment below. That really helps out a lot. And then just subscribe. Subscribing is free and I'd really appreciate it. And if you happen to use Discord, there's a Discord invite for the Sons of Appalachia fan server below. Now, let's get into the video. So this is pre-season episode 1. It released July 7th, 2025 and is called Buck Returns to the Tigert Valley Alone. Pretty much the episode starts out with the executive producer kind of letting us know, what the episode's going to be like and how it's different from, the regular episodes that'll be out in the future. So the episode starts out really with Buck talking to the camera being like, since we announced this new show, I've gotten this sign left on my truck with GPS coordinates, and the sign pretty much reads, "Find Gus and dig." So pretty much, Buck meets up with the producers and is like, yeah, the coordinates pretty much read right over there into the woods. So that's what the team does. They all take a trek with a shovel and go out to where the coordinates, kind of point to where, whatever they're looking for is at. While hiking through the woods, there were a few mysterious things that happened. They'd hear a pack of wolves howl in the distance, and their camera actually malfunctioned while trekking through the woods there. After some walking, they end up discovering a grave with Gus written on it and a skull on top. So they dug up the grave and discovered this box inside of the actual, hole that they dug. And upon finding the box, Buck decided to open it and found a journal wrapped in burlap, and upon unwrapping it, started the Tigert Valley rumblings again from season 8 of Mountain Monsters. And due to the rumblings, I guess it was decided that, they should head out of the woods before, something bad happens, since they didn't have any gear with them to actually protect themselves, and waited to reveal the rest of the contents of the box until they were with Huckleberry and then Bill. So all the next section takes place at the Mineral Springs pub. I'm assuming it's Huckleberry's pub, because he's like the only one there when Buck arrives. So Huckleberry lets Buck in, and they, Huckleberry shows him like the sign he got pretty much, and then the box that he found, and they discover inside the box an old photo of Trapper that matches a photo that Huckleberry had of Trapper, but it also includes Trapper's dog, Gus, we assume. Upon going deeper into the box, you can see like a watch and some other trinkets. It's not really, you can't really tell too much, but I do think they go over the actual full contents in episode 1 of the series. And that's pretty much how the episode ends. They put all of the trinkets back into the box, and the last scene is of Bill, driving into the pub's parking lot and then getting out of his truck, with one final sentence. For every destination, there's a right and wrong path. And then the text fades and reveals wrong path, and then that is the end of the pre-season episode. So, one thing we can theorize about here is who actually put the sign on Buck's truck to begin with. Buck mentions that everything was pretty quiet until they announced their new show, and then that is what caused them to end up going back out there to the Tigert Valley and discovering that box. And in my eyes, there's only like one character that could really have put that sign on Buck's truck. Would have to be the cultists from Season 6 of Mountain Monsters. And if you don't know, Season 6 was this like quest for the Spearfinger. It spent through the entire 6th season and was assumed to be the storyline of Season 7 before Trapper's passing. And I'll go more into this, however, I feel like that they are somehow connecting the Spearfinger to the rest of the Tigert Valley mystery from Season 7 and 8 of Mountain Monsters, and that is what I'll go into later. Like, I've really thought this out, and I think this is where the story is heading. However, I'm going to save that for after we recap on episode 1. So in the end, who I think put the sign on Buck's truck would have to be the cultists from Season 6. They heard the show was coming back, and thus wants them to continue going after these creatures to finally find the hidden truth of the Spearfinger. So this is the very first episode of Sons of Appalachia. It released July 16th, 2025, and is called The Box, the Book, and North Carolina. This episode showcases the intro for the rest of the series with Appalachian story legend Jared King TV. He did such a good job with the voiceover work for this intro, and I'm so glad that they included him somehow. The intro uses their theme song and includes a recap of the last, episode, I guess preseason episode, and then it showcases the 3 members of the team, Huckleberry, Buck, and Bill. This episode picks up right after the preseason episode with Bill walking into the pub and meeting up with Huckleberry and Buck to go over what Buck had found in the box. The next scene was a very honorable and really nice memorial, honoring Trapper and everything he's done for the team. It was really sweet to include him somehow into this episode, and the little section with Buck in there was really nice to watch. After the memorial, they went more in-depth into what was actually in the box, revealing the book wrapped in burlap, where Huckleberry actually had some insight that, wrapping things in burlap prevented evil from spreading out, which must have been what the burlap was holding back when Buck opened the book in the Tigert Valley that started the rumblings to happen again. So they went more in-depth into what was actually in the box. Of course, they had the book wrapped in burlap, but they also went over the picture of Trapper's dog Gus again. There was an old kendama-like game where you'd get the ball on the rope to stick on the stick. And then there's a bag full of canine teeth. This was assumed to be Gus's teeth. I don't know why his teeth would be in there personally. There's also a watch they found, and then a wood chisel that was pretty used. After all this, they talked about the Pathfinder symbol, of course, being on the journal again, and then Buck read a passage from the book. The passage read as follows. Stone Black Bloodline is the title. The wind remembers story told in Cherokee tongue from days of old. A shadow walks where spirits warn of teeth of stone, of fingers torn. They searched before but turned away. The signs were clear, she chose to stay. He still hears her in the rain, a whisper born from blood and pain. It calls him now, it won't relent. It won't relent through time well spent. She knows his name, she knows his line, and waits for him beneath the pine. In her old home of Caroline, don't look back, stay on track. So for me reading and just looking through this and kind of getting ideas line for line of what this poem means, it is the most interesting thing I have ever read, and I got goosebumps when figuring out what this poem means. Now, I was debating on revealing what the poem could mean, because this is massive lore implications for the Mountain Monster series, but I think a lot of people could miss what this means, and I want to reveal it line by line what I think it means for all of you watching. So the title right off the bat pretty much, sets the foundation for what I think the poem might be about. So Stone Black Bloodline. Stone describing the skin of the Spearfinger, black describing a curse, locked, and then bloodline meaning bloodline. So I think it the meaning of the poem right off the bat is a curse, put upon a bloodline by the Spearfinger. The very first line, the wind remembers story told in Cherokee tongue from days of old. I thought this was like a legend being told to generation after generation, just being passed down from ancestors. A shadow walks where spirits sworn, of teeth of stone, of fingers torn. I thought this was describing like the spear finger. A shadow walks where spirits sworn, the dark forest, I think it's called. That could be her, just describing like where she's stuck, and then of teeth of stone, of fingers torn. I don't really understand the of teeth. It might like be describing hunger or something. Of stone, that probably is describing her like older skin, since she's described as an older woman. And then of fingers torn, that's what I was like, obviously that's the spear finger, like just the finger. I don't know, I correlated the finger to finger thing, so yeah. They searched before but turned away, the signs were clear she chose to stay. I think this is describing people hunting for her, the spear finger, but not quite getting far enough and exactly finding her. Like, they searched before but turned away. No, turning away usually means you don't think you're getting anywhere, so you turn back. The signs were clear, meaning it was obvious where she was, I'm thinking, and then she chose to stay, just meaning she likes to be where she is. I didn't really think that one, as thoroughly through as I did the rest of that line. This part is where things get really interesting. He still hears her in the rain, a whisper born from blood and pain. I think the he hears her in the rain is a man hearing a loved one being called out to him into the rain, her being the spear finger, so he hears the spear finger in the rain, whisper born from blood and pain. I think that is explaining like how the spear finger was formed. She went through some kind of great pain that caused her to be the way she is, like an evil spirit of the forest. It calls him now, it won't relent. It won't relent through time well spent. I think it calls him now once again is the spear finger, like calling out from someone's loved one, mimicking them, and then it won't relent through time well spent. I think it means it's still persistent and luring people in no matter how long it may take to get them. She knows his name, she knows his line, and waits for him beneath the pine. So I think this is the spear finger aware of who the curse is after, who she needs to get, and she knows his line. I think that's his bloodline again. She knows who he is and, his bloodline and his history and his family. Now, who he is, I'm going to get through these last few lines and I'm going to reveal who I think he may be. And it's a lot more obvious than you may think. And then the second part of this line, and waits for him beneath the pine, I think that is just her waiting for the right moment to strike. Waiting for him to go to the dark forest, maybe, where she resides, to get him and whatever she may do with him. And then the final two lines, in her old home of Caroline, don't look back, stay on track. In her old home of Caroline, that's, as seen in the show, Buck's like, immediately, North Carolina, the spear finger, we need to go there. And I think that is what this pretty much is a clue to her location in North Carolina. And then don't look back, stay on track. That's just what I think it is pretty much saying don't get distracted, stay on your mission, and don't let your past get in the way. So getting through that poem took a lot longer than I thought it was, but I wanted to make sure to get everything I wanted to say correctly. However, we will finally be moving on. I'm so sorry for it taking so long, but pretty much after Buck read the poem, they were all in an agreement that North Carolina, back to find the spear finger, is where they should go. And before they actually go onto the hunt in North Carolina, they had a pretty humorous moment. And I'm not going to say what happened, but I'll say a little bit, is that Bill took an energy pill from a gas station. Now, let me tell you, do not trust random energy pills from gas stations, and that's pretty much it. You can watch it and figure it out for yourself. And here we are at the first night hunt of the entirety of, Sons of Appalachia. So there are the three guys walking through the woods out in the forests of North Carolina when all of a sudden Bill sees a cloaked figure in the shadows. Now, Huckleberry and Buck kind of write it off, thinking, he's going a little crazy, so they moved on, assuming it was nothing. But all of a sudden, there was the cloaked figure again, but this time, everyone could see him. Bill started to chase after the cloaked figure to go get him when Buck suddenly stopped him. There was a big cliff right in front of him that they didn't see, almost causing him to break his neck, as Bill explains, and they didn't actually get the cloaked figure. They went a little further into the woods, discovering a tree with 3 claw marks scratched down and the initials JL. And Buck was like, "Those are my initials." But then Huckleberry revealed they're also his initials. After making this discovery, the 3 guys head on further, see what they can find, and 15 minutes later, it goes to Bill and Huckleberry walking through the woods, but they both notice that Buck has gone missing. They have no clue where in the world Buck went. Buck, to the camera himself, was like he had to split off. He heard his father's voice coming from the woods, and he had to go figure out what it was. He was confused, and the episode pretty much ended with him feeling ill. He sees something in front of him. It flashes for just a couple seconds, and then Buck collapses to the ground, ending the very, very first episode of Sons of Appalachia. Then, at the very, very end, it is a screen that says, "In memory of John Trapper Tice, the true legend of the mountains," and then it rolls credits. So this is where my theories get a little iffy, I will say. I'll get into the real, iffy one that I thought of here in a second. However, I do want to go over the actual theory of, who is this guy that they're talking about in the poem. She knows his name. He still hears her in the rain. I want to go over, what I think, he may be. And who I think he may be would be Buck or Trapper. I have thought on this for so long, and I can't really tell who, this story could be about, because Buck had experienced these things. He heard her, he knows his name, he knows his bloodline. However, it could easily be about Trapper. Trapper discovered the story, did the same thing the guys are doing, and went face to face with the Spearfinger. And this was brought to my attention very recently by a member in the Discord. I'll put up this screenshot of his theory now, but one of the parts that really stuck with me was his idea that Trapper went face to face with the Spearfinger and awoke it in 1984, which is why the Tigert Valley rumblings exist. And that is how we get into the bigger picture of what I think Sons of Appalachia may go in the future. So, I think because Season 6 of Mountain Monsters ended very abruptly due to Trapper's passing, Season 7 and 8 was solely focused on the Tigert Valley. What I think is happening is that somehow the Spearfinger is intertwined into the Tigert Valley, which is why this passage about the Spearfinger was in a book wrapped in burlap when unwrapped started the rumblings again. So while Trapper's journal, the original one from Season 7 and 8, may be solely focused on, the Tigert Valley, this new journal may be focused guiding the guys to find the Spearfinger and uncover the mystery of how the Spearfinger may be causing the rumblings in the Tigert Valley itself. Now we get into the really crazy theory of what I think the cloaked figure is at the end of episode 1. And this is something really crazy, and I've been told a couple times that there's some disagreements with my theory because I totally understand it. It's absolutely insane. However, I cannot tie this cloaked figure to anyone else in the entire franchise of Mountain Monsters. So at the very end, we had a couple frames where we could see this man, I'm assuming, in a robe with the longest gray beard I have ever seen. And originally when I saw that, I thought it was a microphone to a camera. However, I saw a comment by this guy here that said, but it looks like the Cherokee Devil because you see some white hair on its beard under the nose. And that made me completely realize that I totally understand how he thinks that. And when pulling up a photo of the Cherokee Devil right next to it, they look almost 1-to-1 in the beard. And I don't think it's the Cherokee Devil. I think it's some kind of spiritual ghost, like the spirit of the Cherokee Devil. And I don't know why he would be there. I mean, he's obviously mimicking Buck's father's voice, but there's no really explanation to why he would be there or why that is who they found. I don't think it's the Spearfinger because in everything you see, it's like a really old woman. She pretends to act like a nice lady, and then it's also like the dude's carrying a staff. I don't think that would be something she would carry. And she's known for her long spear finger, and I don't see any spear finger from the 2 frames we saw of this mysterious cloaked figure. But that is actually who I really think is what we saw at the very end of episode 1, was a spiritual reincarnation of the Cherokee Devil or the Sukalu. And that brings us to the very end of this recap / theory video. I really hope I get this out before episode 2 releases. They literally just announced that they're releasing it this weekend, and this weekend is very, very soon as I am recording this currently, so I'm going to get this video out as quick as possible just to see what people think before episode 2 releases, and then just denies all of my theories that I have, because I might be wrong on all of this, but the one that is connecting the Spearfinger to the Tigert Valley, I really think that one is right, and I really think that's where the story is going. Whether it's the Cherokee Devil spirit in that cloak, I'm unsure about, and whether the cultists are putting that sign on Buck's truck in the preseason, I don't know, but that is just what I think, and I mean, I'm accepting any other theories or ideas for what is happening. But yeah, this is my longest video yet, and I hope it was a really enjoyable watch. That section with the poem took me so long to record. I've recorded it 4 times in a row in separate sections, and it's whatever. But yeah, I mean, if you really enjoyed, feel free to leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.